Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Hey, welcome to this episode of the Note Closure Show. As always, Scott Carson, jacked up to be here today. And can we have an honest conversation, everybody? I mean, you guys, I had somebody ask me today, how do you always stay motivated and excited about stuff? Well, first of all, I get to do what I enjoy. But I think a lot of folks out there aren't happy. It's a tough time to be an entrepreneur these days. Well, a lot of people are doing well in their jobs or their careers, investing, and they absolutely hate their life or they dislike their life. Maybe hate's too strong of a four-letter word, but we all know that we see people struggling. And we all also the joke that, oh, it's Instagram fabulous. Well, most people that are Instagram fabulous really aren't fabulous in a lot of cases. I know being a long-time investor like I am and being part of different mastermind groups and seeing a lot of big operators, more doesn't always mean more. Oftentimes it means less when it comes to loving your life. And so today's episode, I want to have an honest conversation with you. We brought in a rock star to have it with you. All right. This rock star is kicking ass and taking names and works with high performance people like you guys that are listening to this podcast or watching this show. She is a rock star. Just recently met her, got a chance to really, really like what she's doing. And I think she is the coach to maybe kick your ass a little bit today. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Coach Jayme here in Austin, Texas. Coach Jayme, what is going on? How are you doing today, girl?
Yo, what is going on? I am already excited because if whoever's listening to this, if you haven't had your coffee yet, be prepared because this energy I can already tell is going to make you feel like you either just had a shot of espresso or shoot, maybe even a Red Bull to chase it down. Who knows? But yes, I am so stoked to be here. I just geek out on all things mindset. So I'm so honored that you are giving me this opportunity to chat with all of your amazing folks that tune in.
Well, we met recently at one of the awesome podcasting associations, and you were talking. I was like, "Oh, this is great. This is perfect," because we've been talking about some of the different things that we do. And one of the questions that people, I pay attention to what people are asking and how you can. I'm sure you can tell by based on how they ask a question whether they're in a positive or negative mindset and going that route. And I've seen people that are struggling, not with anything what we're doing, but they're literally struggling. And I think a lot of folks are having a hard time getting out of bed and chasing that rat race, not to find something that's positive in the mindset for them, right, Jayme?
Mhm. Yes, I like to say that work just happens to be your drug of choice. You may also have some other ones that you lean into, but yeah, choosing to lean into that as your vice to run from every other problem in your life. And so many times I hear people say, "I'll be happy when." I'll be able to breathe when life will finally get good when. Well, guys, newsflash, if you are constantly chasing when, I can promise you when will never arrive. So,
That's so true. So true.
yes.
Now, I love your background too. I love your background in the finance space too. So you can speak to our audience versus, and really you understand what's going on in our space more than somebody who's a life coach that has no experience and stuff like that. And I really love that you've honed your message to really identify and assist high performers because we've got high performers on here who are kicking ass and taking names, but need help,
Mhm.
right?
Yes. Yeah, I always like to tell people I have a very diverse resume personally and professionally. And so I also, which I'm grateful for it, but I had a lot of people misinterpret me to be younger than what I actually am. So I will gladly take that. But nonetheless, I have attended the School of Hard Knocks in many different ways. I've been working for myself since I was 18. I have been working since I was 11, and I've been in pretty much every industry possible. And I've experienced pretty much every form of adversity possible. And so, with that, I don't fully rely on my own story to be the experience because I think that's also doing a disservice where that's just me doing a healing journey and I'm using other people to make money off of that. So it isn't that, but it's essentially like I've always been geeked out on how the brain works. And so that's kind of connecting the dots looking backward of what all of my experiences have led to is because I very much was that person. And even at the age of 26, I got put on bed rest for an entire week due to a massive kidney infection because I was running on fumes, working my butt off, chasing after success, trying to do all these things to, I didn't necessarily know it at the time, but was trying to get people to love me, thinking that if I had XYZ, then all of a sudden life would be good and it would come. And either life felt exactly the same or it was a very, very short high. And then I was chasing the next fix. And so, what I found in that is that like your brain is just like it would be any other muscle that you would have to train in the gym. Like you have to learn how to make it more resilient, more efficient, and you have to find different angles to maybe put time under tension. That way you can best utilize the muscle to its best of the ability that it carries. And so that's just kind of what I've been blessed the opportunity to do. And I am a big fan of doing, because you and I have talked offline about this, is that so many people are hustling after these lives, because by the highlight reels of social media, it looks like they're happy. It looks like they're successful, but they are more broken than the majority of the people who don't have even half of what they have.
So true. One of my early, mentors told me, he was, Scott, when you go from making 50K to 100K, you have to change your mindset. And if you want to go from making six figures to seven figures, you really got to change your mindset and start thinking differently and surrounding yourself with different people and really reprogramming what your brain thoughts, because it's a whole different ball game. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle with is, oh, I know it. I got here on my own. I don't need somebody to help me along the way. And that's where the first big crash is, I like to say.
Oh, so many points to add in that. There was a statistic, I don't even remember where I heard it, but very similar to your point, is that when you're kind of at the 50K to 100K range, like that is one type of mentality, but they were showing that the happiness levels of pretty much people, maybe it was like 150K and up, there was a small monumental difference in the level of happiness between that amount of money that you're making versus if it was the other. Like it was a bigger jump from like 50 to 100K to then like the next. But realistically, once you hit that point, having more and more money didn't make you even more. You didn't have a happier life because of it, which I mean, I feel like logically we all know that, but living in it and having that striving habit of performance equals results, which equals success, which equals happiness, it's hard to shut that mental wiring off. And that's a lot of what I talk with people about. Like, you have to learn how to slow down to actually speed up, because right now you are running on fumes and no wonder you're miserable. And all you do is work. So no wonder nobody wants to be around you.
So yeah, workaholics and control freaks we all are as entrepreneurs. You got to
Exactly.
learn to delegate. I always joke and say, like, listen, Steph, you want to we want a trip plan, or we want to go on vacation, plan it. Well, I'll book around it. But if you don't plan it and put it on the calendar, I'm going to fill up my calendar, because I'm just that kind of workaholic to stay busy in a lot of cases. And
Mm-hmm.
that's like the first thing I tell people, like, listen, plan it, celebrate the victories, because we all,
Mm-hmm.
oh, not going to have any victories. We'll just keep moving along, trudging along. Like, no, 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 you got to take that time to do it. I don't work near as hard as I used to, because I used to be a road warrior, on the road 35 to 40 weeks out of the year. That's not fun, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I have a quote for literally everything. I mean, I even wrote a book on quotes, but my absolute
100,
favorite,
123 positive quotes. Buy her book. It's an amazing book.
yes. But this one, like, mark my words, this better be on my tombstone, because this one I say like 60 times a week. It's my favorite. We need water to survive, but water can also kill us. Too much of anything is going to be a problem. So yes, you have to work hard, because I feel like, especially within my world and the different age ranges of people that I coach, it seems my more seasoned clientele, they have this issue of really tapping into emotions at all, because it's like, suck it up, just keep going, it'll be fine, just keep going through it. So they completely avoid emotions altogether, which, hey, it works until it doesn't. And then on the flip side, I have my more infant experience of clientele that comes in, where it's like they are so woke that all they do is function off emotions, where it's like, for lack of a better word, you have to learn how to sack up a little bit, right? So it's like there is a dance to that we have to learn how to meet in the middle. And more times than not, that's what I see with these high performers, is that, like, look, I am not trying to get you to stop doing the things that got you here. However, there is a mental shift that needs to take place, because you are hitting a plateau in the level of success that you can achieve, because you're still trying to function from almost this survival state. And now you're not really as efficient in things, like, maybe from a work perspective, yes, but now you're filling it with more work duties, instead of now using maybe that opportunity to find fulfillment and appreciate the present and the relationships in your life. So it's more of that part that I get to tap into.
You like to talk about the three R's when you're working with people. Can you kind of explain what the three R's
The
to
three
everybody out there?
R's.
Because I guarantee it's three steps, stuff like that. But when I was reading about it, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
I said the three R's.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I'm more. I don't know. The three R's you talk about: reflection, refine, and
Yes,
reignite.
that's right. I have so many different pillars that I've went through for marketing strategies. Yes, they're all one. We okay. Also, fun fact: I wrote my book back in 2021, and it was just chilling in my Google Docs. And so, still to this day, like I published it a few months ago, and I open it up, and I'm like, I wrote that. Okay, let's go. Yes, so essentially, it is through that process. But for me, it's like first and foremost, we have to stop. Like I love talking in like analogies. And so for me, the first part that I think that's important is like if you were to I'm from Ohio, but I live here in Texas. If I wanted to get to Ohio, if I didn't tell my GPS that I was in Texas, how well would I accomplish getting to Ohio? Right? I wouldn't.
It'd be hard going from Ohio to Texas here, unless you went like southwest at an angle. You might hit
Yes.
us. You know what I mean? Otherwise,
Yes.
if you went straight
So
south, you just go right on by. You know what I mean?
right. But I don't know where I am. So how do I know how to get there from where I'm at? And I feel like from a personal and an emotional level, so many people don't know that because they're functioning so much in overdrive and achieve, perform, hustle, that it's like, again, from a business perspective, of course you are so locked and engaged on what it is that you need to do, but it's like, what are you really doing it all for? Where are you sitting? Where is it that you came from? Like, let's really get clarity on where you are currently before we even try to map out anything else. So it's like we start with that. Then from there, what we want to do is we want to dig into like, okay, how did this mental wiring like get me there? And how is it serving me in that? And also how is it not? And then that's where we start to retrain and practice the muscle of doing things that at one point served you, but now are the very thing that are making you feel stuck or burnt out or not even knowing who you are and why you're doing what you're doing anymore. Like, let's actually find a better way to do this. So it's not that like you're broken and you need to be fixed. It's let's refine that and find a way to start improving in those skill sets because we don't need the way we did it before anymore. And then so from there is when we actually get to go through the process of celebrating, right? Like that's where we figured out where we were and where we want to go. We started to rewire what it looked like on how we could get there. And then now we get to celebrate and now we get to practice the sustainability of living in this new and improved mindset.
How do you do that with the news and all the negative Nancy of stuff going out there? Are you unplugging from things? Are you blocking out negative influencers, influences? I guess you could say is a better one instead of influencers, because I think the whole doom and gloom of the world is every day. Like if you were to watch the news every day, no matter whether it was Fox or CNN or ABC, it's not very nice out there. You
Yes,
know?
yes. So yes is the answer, but more specifically, that's not my focus.
Mm.
Because what's deeper than that is truly your emotional intelligence, your self-awareness, and then your self-control and your boundaries. Boundaries is my favorite thing to talk about because every like that's a buzzword now. Where everyone's like,
Yep.
I have my boundaries. I'm like, dude, you don't even know what a boundary is. Like, I have done workshops for over 6 hours drilling on boundaries alone because they're so much more complex than what people realize. And the example that I always give is it's like, have you ever had because you have kids?
Not that I know of. No.
Okay. Oh my God,
Nephew.
just kidding.
Nephew.
Okay. Well, like I because I don't either, but this is the analogy that kind of comes to my brain is like being a kid asking an adult, like, hey, what does this word mean? And then someone's like, well, put it into a sentence. And then now you kind of like hodgepodge roughly what you think the word means based on how it was used into a sentence. That's how I feel we define boundaries. And so that's where the next level is going to come in is that when you have proper boundaries, now you can start blocking out those things that you shouldn't be giving attention to. Yes, I think that it's super big to have self control, that I don't live on my phone and I doom scroll and I watch the news. I haven't actually even owned a TV in over 7.5 years. So I definitely don't watch the news. But I do believe that we were not ever meant to know all of what was happening in the world, because quite literally, what good is it really doing for you to know that if there is nothing you are genuinely going to go do about it? Now you are ruining the impact you could be making because you're too busy wasting your energy focusing on something you have no motivation to go change anyway. So now, again, we need water to survive, but water can also kill us. That doesn't mean that you don't care and don't pay attention to what's happening, but you have to have proper discernment about where your time is really best spent. So, yeah, I feel like that was a very loaded way of me explaining that, but I think it's
No,
much deeper than just
but
what you're consuming on what's negative, because realistically, more times than not, the other reason why my clients are running and why they're working so much is because they don't like spending time with themselves. They don't like who they are, let alone giving a crap about what's happening around them. So to me, that's more important at the starting point. Who are you? Where are you? And then we can focus external, but we got to start internal.
so true on that. Yeah, not being focused on what's happening in
Yeah.
California politics or Florida politics or what's going on and all that stuff. That's always seems to be the biggest thing. And I'm always like, I don't have time for that. If it's not going to affect me here locally, worrying about voting there or this going on just doesn't make any sense to me. I've got so many hours now. I want to focus my time on the
Yeah.
good things. Yes, it's good to know what's going on, but I'm not going to give it more of a second thought. I got too much
Yeah.
other stuff I got to worry about, right?
Yeah.
Where when you start um how much do you, I mean, I know you're in the reprogramming side, but how much of it is kind of breaking people down to the basics, kind of like a boxer? They have so many things they've learned, or not, or that's not how I was taught. That's not how we've done it. How much are you having to kind of like physically like scrape them down to the studs to kind of get rocking and rolling in some cases?
Yeah, that's the crux of what I do. So as a coach, I'm also certified as a neurolinguistic programming practitioner, and so that's where the mental rewiring comes from. And so we have to tap into those belief systems. It's my favorite nerd statement to mention. Um, we think up to 60,000 thoughts per day. Okay.
Wow.
80 to 90% of them, depending on, roughly the person, are negative, and 90% of those carry over into the next day. So, the woo-woo side of things refers to it as like the subconscious and the conscience and all of that. But realistically, like I mean, if we just break it down to basics, like it is impossible for you to be aware of all 60,000 of those thoughts, right? It's not like you're like, how do I have to put these muscles into contraction to hold on to my toothbrush so then I can open up my mouth? Like you don't have to think about all those things. And so a lot of these thought processes, or the key buzzword of the limiting belief, is that these were just patterns, and it doesn't mean it has to come from a trauma. So many people think it's like stepping into this form of therapy and having to have this big emotional breakdown. Like, no, it's just like, let's acknowledge this key thought and experience that is anchoring you to believing XYZ to be true, when maybe that just isn't so. And when we acknowledge it, then that's when we get to start training it.
That makes a lot of sense. That totally makes a lot of sense. 60,000 thoughts per
Up
day.
to, up
Up
to,
to, well, yeah,
yes.
me, I may be at that 20,000. I don't know if I'm at the 60 operational side, but
Typically, females spend more thoughts than men, but yes,
well,
it
that
can
was the
happen.
next question I was going to ask you. How is it rate male versus female? But that whole negative programming, negative thoughts. While you were saying, I was kept thinking back to Stuart Smalley from Saturday Night Live. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough, and doggone it, people don't like me kind of aspect, and having to flip that,
Mm-hmm.
just without the cashmere sweater in the mirror
Yeah,
to look at, right?
yeah. But then even like a lot of them, because I have a current client of mine who actually is a realtor, very, very successful realtor. And that's very much the thing that he's been struggling with, is because for him, he was a competitive athlete growing up. So his training was to work hard.
Yeah.
And so the anchoring thought pattern for him is that in order to be successful, you had to work hard, which again, part of that, yes, is true. But the problem is that as he was achieving all of these things, life was always hard. I'm like, yes, because you are so engraved into this belief pattern that in order to have these things, it has to be hard. Even once you work through the what was hard part, you keep focusing on more hard things to bring into your agenda because that's all you know. So it was like we had to flip it, that like yes, working hard is part of that, right? Because I'm also not this whole fake it till you make it where you just give some affirmation and be like, I am awesome. I am whatever. Like, because I also think that that's another
That's
extreme.
lying
Like,
to
what is,
yourself. That's
yes,
that's
yes.
that's straight up
What is
lying to
the
yourself. Yeah.
reality? What
Yep.
is the reality in that? Is that I can be successful and I don't have to always be in working hard mode, right? So it's like you're acknowledging the truth to it, but you're also allowing yourself to train this new way of thinking that can debunk this aspect that you have fully believed to be true your whole life. So that's very much the bulk of what I do, because a lot of these things are things people aren't even willing to admit to themselves. So it's like I get to be in the journey with you, not to fix you, but to challenge and like see some of those blind spots, right? Like the example I always give here is like, I love fitness. So that's always where my brain goes. Is that if like you have a coach who you're squatting, right? You're doing a back squat. And they're like, you're not breaking parallel. I need you to at least hit parallel, if not below. And you're like arguing with the coach saying, yes, I am. I feel it. I'm getting low enough. And then they record you. And then you look at it and you're like, oh, you're right. I'm not. So now that I see it, now that I can know what it would look like to fix it, and I can adjust to what that would feel like to actually be at the place I need to be. That's essentially what I'm getting to do with people's brains. I can kind of call you on the thought process and be like, yes, you're correct. However, I don't think you really fully hear what you're saying and how that doesn't make sense. And then we get to see it, and now the correction gets to happen.
It's so important to have a coach. I mean, that's the thing. Mindset is such a can be such a fragile thing, but it's also can be our biggest tool
Mm-hmm.
in overcoming obstacles or not working till you're dead, but literally getting through strides. I kind of chuckle when you talked about the kind of the ornery older person, more seasoned versus the emotional young woke kind of kid, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Uh, what makes you bang your head when you're dealing with somebody? Let's start with the younger group because there's a lot of talk about so emotional participation trophies. You didn't have to overcome walking uphill 6 miles in the snow every day to school kind of aspect of that. Is there anything that just you like want to bang your head not against a plate at the gym while you're doing CrossFit, but from people say to you that you're just like, come on, let's get beyond this bullshit that you've been ingrained in or been told, the lies you've been told. I know, deep thought there.
That no, because that is such a great question. And I promise I still will give you an answer because I don't want to like like as you said that, like the way I'm about to answer it, almost as if you walk into an interview, be like, oh, my greatest weakness is that I just work too hard and I love my job too much. That's what I feel like it's about to happen. So hear me, but then I promise I will still give you some type of productive thing with it. But I will say that I can't think of a client that I have ever worked with that I felt that frustration, because I am very, very selective in who I work with. And
Yeah.
I can't want it for them more than what they do. So luckily, I work with people, whether they're woke or whether they're stubborn as all get out. Listen, I'm a very type A human. So that is my favorite part of working with this particular niche, is because you can't out type A type A
Right.
in
Amen to
my
that.
brain, right? Like that's how I lead into it. So it's like I'm willing to go toe to toe on that and not just let another type A just kind of walk over and keep doing what they're doing, so I can challenge that. But I very much will make sure it's like I pre-qualify before somebody even works with me, so I don't really hit those points with people. But what I will say, if I'm in a room like doing a workshop or if I'm speaking with people, my frustration is when that they are still just so in denial that like and I think that that would be the frustration of any coach, of like, oh my gosh, but I see your potential. If you would stop with the ego right now, I promise you there is so much awesomeness that lies ahead. But you're getting in your own way because you are just letting the pride say that this isn't an issue. Because I talk with people all the time, they're like, Jayme, oh my gosh, I love what you do. I bet you help so many people. And I'm like, yeah, I'm looking at the number one person who needs it, but you're not willing to admit it. So if anything, that would be my frustration, is when I see these people who are working so, so hard and doing such amazing things, but they're not willing to fully admit to themselves that something needs to change.
Yeah, if you can't be honest to yourself, there's not a lot of help for you. But I love, but you did
100%.
answer the question. You answered the question that I'm very selective. not everybody is my client. And I think that's a hard thing for a lot of folks when they're, especially when they're getting rock and roll. I think that's probably one of the biggest aha nuggets that you're not going to make everybody happy. Not
Mhm,
everybody's your client. Not everybody's your listener. Not everybody's your
mhm.
investor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's hard for a lot of people to say no to in a lot of cases,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, that's where it's like, check the ego, amigo. Like, what it doesn't have to be about you that much.
Yeah.
Like I don't like everybody. So naturally, not everybody's going to like me. Like another favorite quote of mine, you could be the largest, ripest, juiciest peach, and you're still going to find somebody who doesn't like peaches.
Hmm.
So then my question for you is, why are you so frustrated by the people you can't please? That's more of a you problem than it is a them problem at that point.
So true. Mentor of mine said that you put people into three buckets basically. You have the people that love you, your biggest cheerleaders, people that know you who you are. Those are your biggest raving
Mm-hmm,
fans. Then you have the opposite side of the spectrum, the people that have a dark hole for a soul. They're not happy no matter what. No
mm-hmm,
matter, they're not going to like it because of your age, your race, your color, what you wear, whatever. They're just going to hate you because you hate you. And then you've got that middle bucket where people don't know you, maybe on the fence trying to, but we spend so much time focusing on that negative cycle out there. Screw that group.
mm-hmm.
Say no to them and focus on the folks in the middle, and then your cheerleaders, the people that love you. You'll be a lot more happier being able to say no to the dark hole souls, right?
Can I dive deeper?
Of course, please dig deep, dig deep.
See, this is the other thing too. I always like to say I'm like a termite and I just dig. Because for me, like in this type of scenario, let's say I had a realtor who was getting frustrated and trying to find their ideal target market of who to work with, right? If that's what you keep quote unquote attracting or pouring your energy into, at that point, I would challenge them to take a second to focus on themselves. That why are you so concerned with that? And why are you so bothered by the fact that they don't like you? Because is there some truth that lies within that you could actually take value from? One of my favorite things ever. And I remember I had another friend of mine who she's also a mindset coach and type A. So that, yeah, we had to navigate that very well. Right. And so there was something that she said to me, and she said it and I got like really irritated. And I took a second and I'm like, can I respond to you in a little bit? Because pride wanted to just lash back, like, you don't know what you're talking about. How dare you say that to me? But then I was like, stop. Is there some sense of truth to what she just said? And that's why I'm so bothered. Like, I need to sit with this longer to see why that ruffled my feathers so bad.
Mhm.
And so that is what I would invite somebody to do in this type of situation, right? Because there's going to be these buckets. My bigger question over it doesn't matter, because I always look at it this way too. There could be, I do prison ministry, right? So like there are people who values and just ways of living have not aligned at all. But I bet we could still bond over the fact that we love dogs or we love pizza. You know what I mean? So you can find ways to still align with everyone in some way, shape, or form. Doesn't mean you're going to go latch on and do life with them. But again, I think it's a matter of like, you are the one that has a choice in what type of influence that experience has in your life. So you need to take ownership.
Mhm.
That's my
You, you-
takeaway on that.
I love it too because you said something. There's a lot. I mean, I think we need more of that too. Is we live in such a divisive society, but we have a lot in common with the opposite side of the aisle in a lot of cases. You know what I mean? Same thing. Animals, kids,
Mm-hmm.
food. We can all agree we like
Right.
sushi or whatever like it is. And we have to understand that in a lot of cases. But okay, maybe you don't agree with my politics. Maybe you don't my faith, my religion, stuff like that. Okay, that's fine. We ain't gonna be best friends, but we can still respect each other in a lot of
Exactly.
cases, and
Exactly.
not be the opposite way. Now, I'm a big believer too that faith has a lot to do with success. I know that faith is very, very important to you.
Yes.
Exactly, exactly. How much do you see that in high performers having faith to guide them or something they can fall back on when everything's not going right? How important is that to have strong faith, no matter who you're worshiping or whoever is that higher power to you?
Um, I have like four different ways I want to answer this. So one, I will say it is all across the board. Like I have one of my favorite clients. He is just the coolest human I've ever met in my life, and he's atheist. So he doesn't believe in anything with it.
Okay.
And there's a chance for us to still work together. I don't bring that in. I don't shy away from my faith because that is something I stand very heavily on. And we are
Sure.
able to have very productive conversations around that. But it's not a matter of persuading him to do this. Like we can still meet each other and have an understanding and create amazing results, even despite that difference. But honestly, what I will say is, and this I've actually never said this on a live platform before. So I am taking this as a beautiful nudge and opportunity to do so. The irony is actually that many of the people that I work with, um, they claim God, but it's when it's convenient.
Hmm.
Um, because work still ends up superseding showing up or being in their word and spending time with this creator that they believe supposedly so heavily in, yet it's only when times seem to get really, really hard.
Hmm.
So it is a very lukewarm anchor in their lives, which is more times than not the reason why they end up coming to me, because we're end up talking about why they're lost, why they're upset. And the next thing you know, we're working on the fact that their marriage isn't going very well, but it's because of the way that they're not even focusing on any of the relationships in their life, whether it's the humans or it's their higher power, right? So, yes, first time I've ever said that out loud. I think that to their ability that they know for their faith in something um to be important, yes, they say it, but are they living it? No, it's only out of convenience, which is usually why they're sprinting and running around like, I don't know why this isn't working out type thing.
It makes a lot of sense there. A lot of folks are fair weather in a lot of that. Oh, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I know I wouldn't be where I'm at today without him helping me through my
Mm-hmm.
troubled times and stuff like that, and going through
Same.
ups and downs, stuff like that. And it's always amazing. You hear people, oh yeah, yeah, like, well, when things are bad, they're not very popular, positive about that. You know what I mean? Why have you
Yeah.
forsaken me, God? Well, he doesn't give you
Yeah.
anything you can't handle. You know what I mean?
And see, and that's where it's also funny too, because it's like it's funny how we always have a tendency to either thank God or blame God for everything, but we never take accountability
Yeah.
ourselves. Like when someone's like, "Oh, God must be mad at me. The light was red." No, maybe it was just because you woke up late and now you're rushing to get to work, and so that was a you problem. It wasn't because the light turned red and now you're late for work. Like that was no,
It's
like that
because you
wasn't
hit
anybody's problem but
snooze.
your own.
You hit snooze one too many times. That's why you're hitting the red lights in the traffic now. Not anything
Exactly.
that he
You're
did.
bothered by it, and
Yeah,
you're bothered by
exactly.
it.
He made the ears to hear the alarm go off so that you got up and
Exactly, exactly. You just didn't get up. So yes, yes. But um no, great question. Thank you for asking me that.
yeah, no problem. I mean, that's the thing. Personal accountability. I think we all have to be responsible where we're
Mhm.
at. And that's what I always tell folks when they're coming in. They start, well, oh, is this, or I've got all excuse. I went through divorce. I went through bankruptcy. My wife cheated on me. I got laid off. I'm like, okay, great. We're all here because the decisions that we've made have
Mhm.
led up to this. Nobody held a gun to your head most of the time. I mean, now maybe some of the guys that you're ministering to in jail might have had a gun held to their head at some point. That's a
1,000%.
that's a different story. But the thing I'm trying to get is like, you got to start with being responsible and accountable. And before you can go do anything, before you can find success in just about anything,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and something I very much want to share too in this, as a recovering control freak, um, I always used to say that I can only control what it is that I can control. But the problem is in that, where that went to the extreme, where the water started to kill me, was I thought that I had the power to control everything. When I was insanely deflated by the fact that I was breaking my own heart and forcing and trying to control things so much, and it never turned out the way that I was trying to get it to, it made me realize just how little of control that I actually had, which was scary at first, but it was the most freeing thing ever, because at the end of the day, I am in control of my thoughts, my actions. And so that's kind of like there's this book that I had read. I didn't even end up finishing it. I think I made it to like the first couple chapters because it was an audio book, and the guy made me want to fall asleep because he was like too zen in his audio. But it was what I needed at the time. But he said something really powerful at the end of the book, and or at the one chapter, and it said, "Do you control your thoughts, or do thoughts?" Well, no, of course I can't control my thoughts. Like I was so against that. Like they just pop into my brain. What do you mean? But no, you do have the power to do that. You get to capture your thought and then decide what you want to do with that thought once you have it. And so, like, that is a big part of what I've also had to train myself on, but which is also very big on why I now train other people to do that, is that all of it is useless if you aren't capable of having enough self control to truly capture the thought, be aware of the emotion that is around the thought, and then deciding what to do with that thought. Because if you and I have this conversation and you walk from here and you're like, Jayme is the dumbest person I've ever met, I can't believe I chose to do a podcast with her. I can't control that. I'm not going to take offense to that. But what I can do is I can decide, does that bother me? Okay, if for some reason it would, what maybe could I do differently? So I could respond by, hey, Scott, you thought that I was really dumb. What would be something that you could suggest that I could do differently next time to maybe not give that impression off to certain people that maybe I'm trying to speak to? Or I could choose to be like, that was his opinion. That does not define who I am. And now I can decide to go to my next meeting and focus on trying to best influence the next person that I chat to. But I have to be aware of the thought first and then decide what to do with it. And then recognize still so much of that is out of my control.
I like being the dumbest person in the room. If I'm not the dumbest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room oftentimes, the way I look at it. But a lot of people like, I don't want to be that. I want to be the smartest person in the room. And,
Oh,
you
no.
know, that makes me feel comfortable. I don't have to, I can't answer a question no or I don't know because that makes me feel less of a person or less of an expert. I'm like, I don't know. Let me find that out for you. Some of the most
Mm-hmm.
liberating things you can have is being
Oh,
the
yeah.
dumbest person in the room, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, if you're willing to learn. Otherwise,
That's right.
then I got a lot of pity for the dumbest person in the room who's going to remain dumb. Always be a student to life. There we go. We'll put a more intellectual and encouraging spin on that. Always be a student of life.
Always be a student. I love it. Now, can you share a little bit about what you're doing in the prison system, stuff like that? I know somebody's probably thinking that. What is she doing?
Yes, I would love to. So I go to Red Rocks Austin Church here in Austin, but we have a prison campus. So it's at the Lane Murray unit in Gatesville, Texas. So this prison is a high security women's prison that has about 1,300 inmates in it. This prison also happens to have a chapel. So we have a team that goes out every single Saturday, and we actually get to do a full blown church service with them and then break out and do small groups with them. And then we give them these like prayer cards that they could do prayer requests and praise reports, and they get to fill those out if they choose. We usually, on average, we've had, I think the lowest that we've had was around like 60, and the highest amount of ladies we've had was about 151
Wow.
in the chapel for service. But they fill those cards out, and then we bring them back. I enter them into a Google spreadsheet, and then I have a prayer group that we get to pray over those. But we will get to go out and do baptism with them. We get to go out and sponsor their graduation. So some of these ladies, they're called like cognitive life skills. So they get to graduate and learn like life skills. And for some of them, that's the first time that they've ever been able to complete or graduate from anything. So we get to celebrate with them and all of that type of stuff. We did a hygiene kit drive for them recently where we got to give every single lady in the prison shampoo, conditioner, soap, deodorant, and toothpaste, which some of them like don't have the resources or people in their lives that can provide that. So being able to step in and do that is such a beautiful thing. But I've had people ask me in the past, like, why is it that you do that? Not that I don't bash any reason for why people choose to do that, but many are, it's like they want to serve, they want to give back, and I'm like, nah, that should be me in there. Like I said, I have a very diverse resume personally and professionally. And so there are very much things that could have happened in my life that I could be sitting there. And so them getting the opportunity to know that they're humans too, and they're never too far gone, and that they are still loved, I think is so important, because every single one of us deserves to have that reassurance or the reassuring side of things. Another quote, so I told you I got tons of them. For every behavior, there's a backstory. And so again, if there's anything that I can leave you people when you listen to this, is that whether it's personal, professional, relational, I don't care what it is, before you start forming an opinion about somebody, for every behavior, there's a backstory, and there's something that has happened in that backstory that made sense for that person to act in that way. just because maybe your circumstances never took you to an environment to have to consider responding that way doesn't mean that you should be judging somebody, especially in a negative way, for that being the reason why. So,
Amen. I love that. I love it. What is the best way for our audience, our listeners, people watching this to reach out to you, to work with you? What's the best way to start that process, see if they make the cut?
ooh, ruthless here. There you go. As someone who loves competition, that in itself would have been like, dang, now I just need to know. I always tell people to cyberstalk me. I'm a Jayme with no eyes, so Jayme, but you can find me on Instagram at Jayme the Coach. My website is simply just coachjayme.com. I have a podcast that I haven't posted on a while, but Make Time for Your Mind with Coach Jayme, where I just kind of give you call to actions by the end of it and challenge your perspective and give you a chance to just do something different than what maybe you would have in the past. So yeah, feel free to reach out in any of those ways. You can fill out a form that then takes you my calendar link to get a complimentary discovery session. I think that's about it.
Awesome. We'll put the link to the website definitely in the description there for you guys. It's worth it. Pick up the phone. Great conversation. I've enjoyed getting to know you, Jayme, and looking forward to what you are going to be continuing to do and how you help folks out there. And I know I've enjoyed this. Helped me as well too for you. So guys, go out there, take some action, read Jayme's hat. It says max out. So max out and making a better one of you. If you're struggling, not happy with life, liberty, or whatever you're doing, it's time to talk to somebody. Don't be afraid to ask questions or ask for help. I know that when I ask for more help, it's provided, and I often feel better instead of dragging out and continuing to struggle for end on end on end. Pick up the phone. Somebody will help you there, and Coach Jayme can help you. So go out, take some action, buddy, and we'll see you all at the top. Bye. Hey, real estate investors. So you want to dive into the world of note investing, but don't currently have the funds to sign up for an expensive class or a workshop or one-on-one coaching. Well, then you definitely want to check out the biggest bang for your buck in the note world. And that's our WCN membership. It get you an all you can learn access to our class workshop replays, tapes, weekly coaching calls. For $97 a month, it's the biggest bang in the note industry because you get access weekly with me. You can book one-on-one phone calls with me. As we get different tapes in, we'll share them with our members after our one-on-one coaching students get access to us. We share a variety of tools, like I said, replays to the previous workshop, special discount codes to other events that you can take advantage of to help you get more bang out of your dollar every month. We've been investing in notes for over 20 years, and one of my biggest passions is helping note investors, big and small, get started buying notes. Yes, I got started years ago with no money, no savings, and no list. And I love helping people close on their first deal, get their first private funding partner to help them fund more deals and help them both make above average returns. If you're looking for somebody to help you take your note investing from 0 to 60 and want to get started, my WCN membership is a great place to get started. Like I said, we upload lists to it, video training, coaching calls for $97 a month. What can go wrong? The only thing we ask is you hang around for 6 months, and then if you don't like it, you can cancel. But check it out at noteumbrella.com. That's noteumbrella.com. That's our WCN membership. Get looking at assets today. Start putting your fingers on the trigger to pull the trigger on some note deals here before too long. Yes, anybody can buy notes. I don't care your age, your savings, what race, color, whatever it is. Note investing is all about what action you take, and the first action you should take is signing up for our monthly membership at $97 a month. That's noteumbrella.com. You can also access it by going to weclosenotes.com and checking on the monthly membership. But we are here to help you. Scott Carson, the Note Guy. We look forward to seeing you at the top.